What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to a very special episode of Titans Global Podcast. I am your host, MaximusTitanFan, and with me, as always, is my good buddy Link. What's up, bro?
What's going on? Good to be here, guys. As always, we want you guys to get involved with us. So get in the comment box. Let us know what you think about tonight. We're going to have some pretty good discussions about QB picks and what the Titans are looking to do. So make sure to like, subscribe for any future content, and we want to hear from you tonight. So with that, we've got a guest. I'll let Max introduce.
Absolutely, man. Just like he said, get in the comments. We want to know if you agree with us, disagree with us, who you agree with, who you disagree with. But yes, our special guest tonight from Facebook, Justa Titans Fan. Man, when I started up my podcast page, I noticed this guy. We kind of grew up as our pages grew. We kind of grew together, and we use our stuff, each other's stuff. We bounce stuff off each other sometimes. Just a really cool dude. What's up, dude?
What's up, brother? It's good to be on the show. Great to have the opportunity to be here. Tighten up, brothers.
Yeah, man, we're just trying to help everybody grow, man. Everybody get their name out there. What's up, Aaron? Nice to see you, man. Scoob, how you doing, brother? How you doing? So we're doing a very special show tonight. We're doing the Titans debate, what to do with the first round pick. And we've got kind of everybody's perspective, my personal self is Team Cam Ward. We got Justa Titans Fan on Team Shadur Sanders. And then we got Link with Team Tradeback. And we're going to do this real debate style. So 5 minutes for your main argument. And then after that, we're going to go around and do a 2-minute thing. Obviously, we want you guys involved. So get in there and chat at us. Who wants to go first? Or do y'all want me to go first?
Yeah, I mean, go for it. I think right now kind of the resounding idea is that Cam Ward's probably top of the list as far as betting odds and, what the Titans are going to do. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to kick it off, by all means.
Yeah, all right, man. So Cam Ward, my first thing I would say is he got better as the level of competition was raised. Washington State's numbers, I think his best year there was 23, and he finished with 3,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. At Miami, he had 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So, I mean, he literally got better, even though the competition he was facing was a lot better also. People talk about Miami's number one ranked line, and that is accurate. Miami is number one in the nation against the run, run blocking. Pass blocking, they're 18th, which still is in the top 5%, I think, in the country, which is still really good, but it's not the best. But he also had a better run game. I'll give you that. But Restrepo is his best receiver, and he is at best a late second round receiver. Um, I mean, people. My other argument would be that people say that he doesn't in another draft he wouldn't even be in the first round, which is just a joke to me. Let's look at some of the other people that first round draft pick Caleb Williams, 3,600 yards, 30 touchdown, 5 interceptions. Jaden Daniels, who was the best rookie of the year, not arguable. 3,800 yards, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Still pretty good, but not quite. So, I mean, we're talking around the relative same numbers. C.J. Stroud, another good example. 3,600 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Cam Ward is 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. There is not that much difference between these. Also, no, that's it. That's it. I didn't even I didn't even need the whole 5 minutes. I didn't need the whole 5 minutes, man. Cam Ward is the pick for me, and that's it. Who wants to go next?
I'll bounce off of you, a little bit. Personally, I think Shedeur Sanders is the route to go. Personally, I do agree with you. The betting odds are that Cam Ward is going to go number one. I think that's how teams are going to view him. But I believe I'm going to kind of side with Link's point of view here. I think that we should trade back to number 3, grab draft capital, and then select Shedeur Sanders as the QB2 of the class. Mainly because I believe we're below the threshold of top 100 picks over the next 2 years. Now, personally, if I've watched both quarterbacks play over the last few years. I've seen Shedeur Sanders. Even when they went 4-8, he looked like a good quarterback, and he wasn't a quarterback putting them in the position to lose games. He was always making high percentage throws. He's making the right throws, and you can never really go back to a game and say this guy cost them that game, right? So, I would love to go with the better arm talent in Shedeur Sanders. I believe he had 81%. He finished. I don't remember the exact numbers, but
has the best completion percentage in the history of college.
In the college, yeah.
And then to add upon that, to just make that more impressive, his offensive line was near the bottom of the league. He was constantly under pressure, and I still believe he has better numbers than Cam Ward by a good margin under pressure, despite being under pressure so much more than Cam Ward at the college level. You can go back and look at him from high school to Jackson State to now at Colorado. He ran a pro-style offense, and he ran an offense that I believe will translate well to the NFL as far as Deion Sanders had that thing running. I believe that when he was in the pocket, he wasn't just big play. He was willing to take the checkdowns. He was willing to make the smart throws. I mean, even when he had to make, hard throws, like I like to bring up the Baylor pass, the Baylor Hail Mary at the end of the game, that's, a very low percentage play to make, but he snapped the ball, he rolled out under pressure, and he threw it to LaJohntay Westner, who ended up catching it, and it was a very high percentage throw for the kind of throw that it was, So I just personally, if I had to go lean towards a quarterback, I would like to lean towards the guy that has the better arm talent, the guy that's going to, at the end of the game, give us a good chance of succeeding. So that's kind of my argument. So that's what I got. So.
Yes, fair. Right. And for me, I want to break down both before I kind of just say trade down. So Cam Ward's interesting because he gives you a lot of extended plays, but at the same time, I've also seen him make a ton of mistakes off that. So the floor for me feels closer to Levis, which I really hate to say. However, I do think the ceiling's pretty high. I wouldn't mind drafting either one of these guys if you were going to set them behind a veteran, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Seems like they're going to throw these guys out there week one. And to me, most quarterbacks don't have success early. And I feel like either one's going to be a pretty big building process. And I don't know that this franchise has the patience going from new GM, new coach, quarterback, new coach, new GM, new quarterback. It just feels like a cycle to me personally. I don't think this team, we're extremely far away from one player is going to fix us and get us to a championship. This isn't a team that just needs a quarterback. You have a lot of holes to fill. Trading back and getting draft capital to me just seems like the smart way to go. But just to break him down, I mean, like I said, Cam Ward, he's agile. I don't know that he's really played in a pro-style offense, kind of like Justa Titans fans. He at least Shedur's played in an NFL-type offense. Mario Cristobal, he's the type of coach at Miami who just wanted to win by any means necessary. If that meant Cam Ward running 100 yards in the backfield, that's what he was going to do. So I don't know that you've seen that pure – passer mentality from Ward as much. This wasn't a guy who has been working on his form since he was 11. I mean, he's not a pure pocket passer. He's able to extend plays. I just don't know if athleticism is enough for me at this point. And then on Shedur, I mean, he has played the pro style offenses. He does have the bigger arm talent. But to me, I just feel like that's kind of a trigger happy thing to take him at 1, even at 3. I don't know that I'm comfortable taking him at that point. I mean, he's falling on a lot of boards right now. I think not throwing at the combine hurt him a lot more than it did Ward. You say what you will about that. I mean, part of it's his last name, but it is what it is. I mean, that's the type of scrutiny you're going to get, and it's the type of scrutiny you're going to continue to get throughout your NFL career. I think Jackson Dart did himself a lot of favors and climbed up a lot of boards, and that probably pushed Shedur. If the Giants don't take him, and reports are Aaron Rodgers is meeting with the Steelers, I mean, this dude, it's possible he falls out of the first round. If you look at the board, he's 20th best on Mel Kiper's board. I don't know. For me, I don't feel like you're ready to take that risk. I think if you can pick up a third round and get an extra draft pick and then a first round next year and then wait on your quarterback, because I do think the class coming out next year is going to be a lot better, in my opinion. I think if you look at both of these guys, I'm kind of in that club of if you throw them in last year's draft, I mean, you're talking Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, even McCarthy, Bo Nix. I just don't know. Penix. I feel like Ward's probably maybe 5th on that list, and Shedur maybe 6 or 7. So I don't know. To me, it feels like a risk that I'm not willing to take when you have so many other holes that you need to fill. However, I will say with the Titans, I thought they'd be a lot more active in free agency. I thought some of these guys like Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins were going to be in play. I've been kind of high on Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't seem like the Titans are showing any interest there. Right now you're left with Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. There's one more available. I can't think of it. But all you did was sign Brandon Allen. So you basically brought in a backup. All signs point to you're going to spend that number 1 pick on Cam Ward or Shedur Sanders. I just don't know that they're getting a lot of calls. It seems like they actively shopped it at the combine. I just don't know that they're getting a lot of calls at this point. So for me, if you can get anything out of it that includes a first-round pick next year, I'm taking the offer. If I can pick up 2 extra draft picks and a first round next year, I'm good.
All right, you good on you good with that?
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right.
That's fair.
All right, man. So, first of all, I don't know if y'all saw, but Jameis Winston signed with the Giants right before we came on.
Oh, he did sign. That was the other one I was thinking of.
30 minutes before we came on, Jameis Winston signed to the Giants to a 2-year deal. So, there's that. But who wants to go first on the rebuttal? Or do you just want to do it in the same order? I don't care.
No, go for it. We'll go same order. I mean, at this
right.
point, we can just jump in, right? Like if we got something.
Yeah, I mean, pretty
Okay,
much,
cool.
yeah. All right. So first of all, the first thing I'd like to say is under pressure. Justa Titans Fan said that under pressure, Cam Ward wasn't as efficient as Shadur Sanders. Under pressure against the blitz during his senior season, he was 70% completion, 112 out of 160, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 5 turnover-worthy plays, and 10 big-time plays with 128.5 passer rating per PFF. Also, if I was trying to go directly against Sanders, I would say that he had Travis Hunter. His dad was coaching him his entire college career, and his production year from Jackson to Colorado, unlike Cam Ward, did not go up; it went down. So that worries me, especially at the next level. If you're having trouble with this kind of competition, I feel like, and that's the other thing. He looks like he is trying so hard on the field. I mean, and I love that. I love giving your all, but you look at Cam Ward that's the one thing that really stuck out to me in my tape when I was watching it. It even stuck out to a couple buddies that I've showed it to. They're like, man, he just looks like he's just kind of playing yard ball. He's effortless. I mean, he's flat-footed throwing touchdowns, and it's just to me that says, all right, well, he's not giving 100%. He's got more room to grow in my eyes. But other than that, the only other huge thing that bothers me about Shadur is the father, and I hate it. I hated it because I grew up under the shadow of someone who was my father, so I get it, but man, that's just the way it is. As soon as we draft Shadur Sanders, they're all going to be talking about when are we going to, bring in Deion Sanders as a coach, or it's a whole thing that I just don't want. But other than that, I don't see any other reasons. As far as the trade back goes, I'm not going to be pissed if we trade back. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to be upset at all. I totally get it. And to be honest, I think that's why we're playing the poker game we're playing right now. I went way over my 2 minutes. I'm sorry. But Cam Ward, I think they're just stuck right now looking at Cam Ward because, I mean, if we're going to entice anybody into taking that number 1 pick, it's to get Cam Ward. So we got to make him look like he is our number 1, no questions asked.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Cam Ward is a great prospect, so is Shadur Sanders. But I think I'm going to touch on the Travis Hunter debate. I just want to make something clear that Travis Hunter did not win the Heisman Trophy because he is a otherworldly wide receiver. He won the Heisman Trophy because he is a lockdown DB who is also a really solid wide receiver. I believe as far as the offense is concerned and as far as, him helping Shadur Sanders, I believe that he is as good as Xavier Restrepo. Those two guys are very similar. I mean, not similar, but in terms of helping their quarterback, they're very similar checkdowns and guys that can catch the football. Another thing is I saw a guy in the comments, Scoob. He touched on that that Shadur Sanders is one of the most accurate passers in college football history. He has a 70.1 completion percentage all time. That's from Jackson State going all the way to Colorado. And, I think consistency is key. And I believe that 70% or those numbers that he was putting up, the numbers that he's been putting up since high school, I believe that because of his consistency, I believe that can lead us to believe that he'll be able to put up that at the next level, at the Titans level.
All right. I mean, if it's Shadur, I'm not going to be completely upset. And the moment anybody's a Titan, I support him. I'm going to make that clear right now, And also, if this makes you guys feel any better, I've been predicting our draft picks since the Vince Young days. I've never got one right. Not one. Not in the first round, anyway. I've gotten like lesser rounds right, but I've never gotten the first round pick right. So
I think this might be your moment, man. I'm telling you, I don't think it's as much smoke and mirrors as people think. I think that free agency really kind of showed that, because it's like they weren't even in the market for some of these other guys, and that kind of blows my mind a little bit. I think they're pretty set on Cam Ward. In my opinion, that's what it feels like. But for me, I mean, 46 fumbles in his college career. Like that's scary. 46 fumbles in his college career. Now, not all those were lost. So I mean, he's back on the ball. But we're talking about a dude with I mean, he has 9-inch hands, which is very small compared to other NFL starters. I mean, there are guys. I think Joe Burrow also had like a 9-inch hand side, but it matters. I mean, it does matter. With Cam Ward, I don't know that I can trust him to push the ball down the field, which is what it seems like Callahan wants to do in this situation. And then on the flip side with Sanders, I don't know that he's experienced enough with his level of competition. I mean, that's the one big knock I have on him is, I mean, he played at, was it Jackson State? Is that right? I know there was a J. Okay, so he's at Jackson State. He goes to Colorado, and I mean, he's elevated his team no matter where he's gone. I grant that. He hasn't played behind the best offensive lines. If I'm looking at the Titans and I'm looking for fit and I have to choose one of these guys, it does feel like Sanders is a better fit. I just don't know that he's going to be NFL ready right out of the gates. And for the Titans to go all in on a franchise number one quarterback, it has to be a guy who's ready to go right out of the gate. So that's one thing for me on him. I don't like the level of competition on the Sanders side. I don't necessarily like all of the play style on the Ward side. And can we stop with the Steve McNair comparisons? Like that is the absolute pain in my existence these last 2 weeks. Cam Ward is not Steve McNair. I know they both come from, smaller backgrounds. They're not your traditional quarterback. They're physical. They have the ability to run. But if you look at Steve McNair coming out of college, he was a prolific passer. He was able to move the ball downfield. He had a powerful arm. He was able to get it to the sidelines. That's not Cam Ward. Cam Ward's going to extend plays. He's good at going through his progressions, but he's not a guy who's going to bomb it 50 yards down the field every other play. It's just not him. So I can see, where you're coming from, same kind of stature, same kind of mentality, same kind of physicality. But from a quarterback standpoint, these are not the same guy. They're absolutely not. And when you look at Shedeur, I don't even know if there really is a good comp to him. This is a guy who has his own kind of play style. He takes risks. Most of the time those pay off. But who's he going to be throwing to? I mean, you got Calvin Ridley as your number one. You gave up your touchdown machine and I mean, he doesn't have that Travis Hunter. He doesn't have that go-get-it receiver that I think he's going to need at this level. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's rebuttals for both guys. There's reasons you can take both guys, but again, it feels like taking either one of them at number one is just trigger happy. It seems like you've got to go get your guy right now, and that's what it has to be. And he's got to start week one, and we've got to come out of the gates firing. And that's not what it is. I mean, this is going to be a slow, grueling rebuild. This is not going to be a good team next year. I'm hoping for competitiveness at best, but this is not going to be a playoff team next year. You have a long way to go before you're playing for championships, and I don't know that we have the time and the to try to bring these guys up with a coach who showed us that he can't develop Will Levis. I mean, that's a given. He preaches on his development skills and all these quarterbacks he's worked with, but most of those quarterbacks came to him as veterans already. I don't trust him to develop either one of these guys. I think maybe I'm an SEC homer, but I just feel like those guys who play in those pro-style offenses, honestly, I'll say I think Jackson Dart would have more success here out of the gate than either Shedeur or Cam Ward. I truly believe that. This is a guy who's played us, and I'm not saying go get Jackson Dart. I don't want to draft Jackson Dart, but I'm just saying if I'm looking at these three guys and I have to take one of them, I don't know that Jackson Dart's off my list. I really don't. I mean, right now I've seen projections that have him at 7 to the Jets. So I mean, you don't know. But I I don't think this is a team that has the time, that has the patience. Moving into a new stadium in 2027, just trade back, get your picks, build a team that you can bring a quarterback into rather than trying to just go get a guy and bring it in. That's my argument there.
That's not a bad argument. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like the idea of taking Cam Ward at number 1. I just think that if you don't take him at number 1, then you're not getting Cam Ward. I just don't feel like – I feel like if anybody passes on Cam Ward at number 1, he's in Cleveland. I mean, I just think it's that simple. And I think anybody that would trade with us, it would be the only reason they would trade with us, right? I mean, it wouldn't be to get Abdul Carter or – I mean, right? I mean, I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather, and I know it's a lose-lose situation, would you rather draft Cam Ward and him not be the guy, and we're sitting here again in 2 or 3 years looking at drafting another quarterback, or would you rather skip Cam Ward and then watch him succeed somewhere else, and then you go get your guy next year? Let's say he's bad and he doesn't work out here, or let's say he's good and works out somewhere else. Like, what's going to hurt worse?
I'll be honest with you. Oh, go ahead.
Well, to be honest with you, I've looked ahead at the next QB class, and the next QB class isn't even really that impressive. I mean, even assuming that Arch Manning commits, which I'm convinced he isn't going to. I believe his uncles will make him, or will encourage him to have the full college experience. But outside of him, I don't really see a whole lot of guys that are like break the bank, that are any better than Shedeur or Cam Ward. For me, I don't think it makes sense to take a guy number 1 overall, considering we have, like Link said, so many holes to fill, and there being 4 guys that are worth the overall number 1 pick. We could trade back to number 3 or number 4 and still be able to draft a guy that's worth the number 1 pick. So for me, even if we can only get a second and a third round pick, I'm still willing to deal the first round pick to go back to number 3 or number 4 and either get one of the top 2 quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, or draft Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Just give me one of those guys. Give me one of those 4 guys out of the top 4. But I would personally encourage our GM to go ahead and trade back and get extra picks so we can get a Isaiah Bond or a Jaheed Campbell or somebody in the 2nd and 3rd round to help overall fill up our roster, and then hopefully get a veteran wide receiver and like Amari Cooper in free agency. That's my goal.
Yeah, I'll push back on that a little bit. First, I want to talk about the quarterbacks next year. I mean, if you look at you've got guys, Arch Manning, if he comes out, I think he could be pretty ready to come into the NFL. You've got Drew Aller, you've got Lenora Sellers from South Carolina, who really showed up last year. Garrett Nussmeier, that's going to be a big one. I think in a new system, we'll see what he can do. I think Jackson Arnold would be coming out next year. So there's already guys who you could say might be more NFL ready than either one of these dudes. So to me, I do feel like it is going to be a stronger class. And then, the question about, I think, was it Kyle that said, what makes you think we'll get a high spot next year? Well, that's why you trade back. You guarantee that you have a high spot next year. By picking up a number 1 next year, that's going to give you room to navigate. You have more capital. You have more stuff to trade with. So, for me, and look, going back to Scoop, again, I'm not saying you take Dart, and I really don't want to stick with Levis. But at this point, your free agents are out the window. They're out the window. You still need a football team more than you need a quarterback. You need receivers. You still need help in the secondary. You need help at safety. You need help at linebacker. You need help at edge rusher. Just about every spot on the field for the Titans has a need for improvement. So getting that draft capital and then guaranteeing a spot next year really opens up what you're able to do. I think taking one of the quarterbacks could potentially set you back 3 to 4 years. getting a team put together with draft capital, and then if you need a quarterback next year, you go get one. I think that gets you a lot closer. I think then you're looking at a 2 or 3 year window. So, if you look at the way that teams have done it, if you look at the way that the best teams have built their rosters, it's done through the draft. It's done through draft capital. It's taking guys, making them homegrown, and that's just the best way to do it. So again, I do agree. I think the Titans are taking Cam Ward. I mean, if I'm a betting man, which sometimes I am, I do think they're going to take Cam Ward. That doesn't mean I have to agree with it.
All right, look. So you asked a minute ago, what's worse, taking Cam Ward and him failing, or passing on him and him succeeding? I don't really know the answer to that question because I've never got who I want. But I do know what it's like to not get the guy that you wanted and then watching him succeed to an insane extent. I wanted Jay Cutler, and everybody laughed at me, and everybody called me a homer. And I know, but I just be honest, that's who I wanted, and I really believe that's who. Well, I don't know. I think he wanted Leinart at the time. Fisher did, but anyway, point is, we drafted Vince Young, and not only did Vince Young not succeed in the long term, but Jay Cutler did. And I mean, I won't say he was like a superstar or anything like that, but he was a damn good starter for many years.
I mean, he gave one Pro Bowl though. I mean, he had a decent career, but at the time,
Denver a window.
I'm going to let you finish. I'll pull Connie. I'm going to let you finish. But the Vince Young pick at the time was not an unpopular pick. Like it I don't know. If I'm looking at those two guys at that time, if I'm looking at those two guys, your upside seems a lot better with Young.
I get it. I do. I understand. I'm just saying, like I said, I've never got the guy I wanted. But I have seen guys that I wanted go somewhere else and be super successful. And that stings. That stings really, really, really hard. Yeah, man. Yeah. So for me, God, passing on Cam Ward, I think would be worse than getting Cam Ward and him sucking. Because if we get Cam Ward and he sucks, well, then we're still going to be in the top of the draft next year. Yeah. And we're going to have a brand new coach, and we're going to have a lot of cap space and new picks, and the GM's going to have a year under his belt. So I don't see that as a loss. And I also like to say that is a very good point that Kyle made right there. Who's to say that we will be there? If we hit like a 6-10 season or a 7-9 season, something like that, we're in the middle. We're in purgatory. You're not going to get a quarterback there because you're talking about the 10th or 12th pick. You're not getting a quarterback there.
Unless you have the draft capital to fall back on. I mean, you could.
Okay.
I mean, if you pick up the first round next year, you can trade that first. I mean, if you have your guy next year's draft, trade your other 2 picks, your 2 first round picks. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if you have that capital, you have ways to move up.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm just saying that if you bank on that, then you're hoping that, the Giants or whoever is not successful. And if they are, well, then you're just SOL. But that's my scary point, is that the future is not right now. That's my thing. Is early when I started this, I would try to look towards the future. And I would say, oh, well, this is a good deal because, 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road, we're going to be in this position and this is. But you just can't do that. You can't run a football team like that for sure. You have to run a football team season to season to season, actually game to game to game. But you try to, I guess at a pro level, you would look at the whole season. But I just feel like this is the time. And plus, if we don't succeed at least to a certain extent this year, Callie's gone, man. And that is another thing. Is you only draft a quarterback if you believe in Callahan. If you don't believe in Callahan, you trade back 100% for sure. Don't draft a quarterback if you don't believe in your coach.
But that's why I hate that, because you need to figure out the coach first. You've got to figure out the coach first, or we're in the same situation we're in right now, where it's new GM, new coach, new quarterback, new GM, new coach, new quarterback. You're going to run into the same thing, because all of a sudden, if you get this guy, it becomes the GM's guy. Then you fire the coach, then you bring in another coach. Well, it's the GM's guy. You've got to use this quarterback. Then that quarterback doesn't work out. So, and then saying that we're going to have a high pick next year if Cam Ward comes in and he's not good and the Titans aren't good, it would have to be historically, and I mean historically bad, for them to take a first-round quarterback in back-to-back years. I don't know that's – I'm sure it's happened, but I couldn't tell you when the last time was. So for me, I hate that idea. I hate it just because all of a sudden when you take this guy first overall, you are tied to him for minimum of 2 years, maybe 3 years. I mean, we're seeing that now with the Bryce Youngs. We saw it with the Zach Wilsons, the Daniel Jones. We've seen this happen, and you're tied to that guy. The GM's tied to that guy. Whatever coach comes in is tied to that guy. And if it doesn't work out, then you're right back in the same situation. And I'm tired of the Titans not being competitive. So for me, that's why I was looking for them to bring in a free agent, bring in a veteran, figure out what you have in the coaching staff, because that's when he's had the most success is with veteran quarterbacks. Bring in a guy, give him a second opportunity. I really wanted a guy like Fields. I don't think Rodgers was a bad option. Sam Darnold, I get it. He was pricey. I wouldn't necessarily want to spend that much either, but they should have gone that direction, or at least shopped around, because it doesn't even feel like they were on the calls to these guys. So that kind of blows my mind a little bit. And you're right. I think them, if they do take Cam Ward, it's showing that they want Callahan to be here. They have trust in him to develop a quarterback. I just haven't seen it. I'm not at practices. I'm not in the meetings. I'm not in the war rooms, but I haven't seen it. Carthon's out. Brinker's pretty much doing apparently the same job he was doing last year. I don't know why Carthon got his head put on an axe and these other guys didn't. I haven't seen a front office and an ownership that looks like they have any idea what they're doing. I haven't seen a coaching staff who has any idea how to develop a quarterback. I haven't seen them put a good game plan together. The only thing you've got right now is a defense and an old offensive line who you hope is better than last year.
Well, another thing, too, is you got to recognize who we have in the room now. We have Mike Borgonzi, who was the head scout and he was the guy that heavily emphasized that the Chiefs should trade up for Patrick Mahomes. And then you remember that Brian Callahan, he's the guy that developed Joe Burrow. I mean, we have some high intellectual guys in our building that know how to develop QBs and know what a good quarterback looks like. So ultimately, that's why I'm happy with whatever quarterback we decide to get, because I know that there's going to be a lot of intellect put into it and a lot of guys that know what they're doing.
So Zach, that's a good debate on who developed Joe Burrow and how good Joe Burrow was before he even got to the NFL. I think Zach Taylor may have had a little bit more to do with that than Callahan. But to your point, have we seen Callahan develop any other quarterback? I mean, he's worked with guys like Carr. He's worked with guys like Peyton Manning. He's worked with very good quarterbacks, but has he developed anyone? And why did we see such a regression in Will Levis in Callahan's system? So to me, that's a red mark on him, and that's why I don't want a young guy. That's the complete opposite, because you can point to Joe Burrow and say, well, he was the offensive coordinator, but he wasn't calling plays. Zach Taylor was calling plays. Zach Taylor was the one on the practice field with Joe Burrow. Then you look at Callahan, and a lot of these veterans kind of fell into his lap and gave him success. And I'm in the club if I wanted Callahan. Callahan was my number one pick when they were searching for a coach. It was – at the time, it seemed like the best hire, but then the roster fell apart. And, you didn't have a guy in Callahan who could kind of put the stray pieces together the way that Vrabel did. He just wasn't as good at that. I don't think he was a good play caller. I don't think he's been good at development. So, again, I think they had other things to figure out before who's going to take the snaps behind center.
Hi.
You okay?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't get with the Levis regression talk, because we covered that mid-season when we were saying that he's not really regressing. He's just not being as lucky as he was last year. Or you could say he's just very unlucky this year. I don't know.
And
how
it can
you
be
wanna say it,
both.
but
I mean, it
either
can be
way, if you start Will Levis as a quarterback, Callahan's gone. I mean, I feel like there is no way on this earth does Will Levis. Personally, if I was Callahan, I wouldn't start Will Levis. I wouldn't want to start Will Levis. I'd be absolutely pissed if my best option was Will Levis at the end of the offseason, because I'd be like, well, they're not even giving me a chance. They're not even trying. So why should I try? Hell with it. I'll just go back to being an offensive coordinator or whatever, not even call plays and get paid millions of dollars. Anyway, my point is I just I don't know. I don't see that as the move. They just, and I'll say this, that I don't know, like I don't have a lot of connections in the franchise, but I do have a lot of people with their ears to the ground in Nashville, and I do actually know a fair amount of Titans media members, and the word around town is that Cam Ward's the pick. I mean, there's not even a debate in the building. Everybody is on board, according to all the reports coming out, which again could be smoke and mirrors. But like Link said, I don't really think it is. I don't think it is. I think they're genuinely happy with their pick already. It might even be like that year. God, who was that? They announced it like a month early that they were just going to take this dude and just said to hell with it. God, I can't even remember.
Was that the Bryce Young pick?
It might have been the Bryce Young pick because it seemed like that. It might have been Carolina. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, and I don't know. I don't know. When people say it's a bad quarterback class, they're right on the fact that after Cam Ward, this is a bad quarterback class. I mean, Sanders is worthy of a number one pick. I'm not saying that, but Jackson Dart is the next best quarterback, and there is a steep drop off between Cam Ward and Jackson Dart, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. He could be the next Bo Nix and taken at the end of the first round or beginning of the second round and end up being a starter and being a damn good quarterback to give their team a window or whatever, because that's really all you're looking for. You don't need the franchise quarterback to give you a window. Hell, Ryan Tannehill gave us a window, okay? So you don't have to have the best quarterback in the NFL to get a window. You just have to have the right circumstances with all the right pieces in place. And I'll end my argument on that. I'll get off my soapbox. Let you guys finish up your final thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead, Justa. Take it.
It's a great argument. I'll say it again. I love Cam Ward's game. I think he's a great prospect. I guess I'll finish off by showing some love to my boy out of Bama, Jalen Milroe. He's probably, in my opinion, has the highest ceiling of any of the quarterbacks in this class. With he's 6'1", 240 pounds, just ran a 4.37. And he passed fairly well at the pro day. So, I'm gonna just show some love to him. I don't want to leave him hanging. I'm a Bama boy, so I can't just leave my Bama boys hanging. So I'm gonna show him some love. And if we do go the trade back option, trade back to like 6 with the Raiders or something, I definitely wouldn't be mad at a Jalen Milroe selection just to develop our quarterback room.
Yeah, no, I hate it. I will also show love to my home team. Give me Joe Milton. Give me Hendon Hooker. Hey, go get me Josh Dobbs again before Jalen Milroe. I understand it. I think I do agree with you. I think Milroe's ceiling is pretty high if he gets in the right system. But I don't think this is the right system for me. I think Jalen Milroe has good potential to be a backup to somebody like a Jaden Daniels, to somebody like a Lamar Jackson, to somebody in that style of this. This isn't a good spot for him. I would, if I'm trading back, and I've kind of struggled with this, like what number am I okay trading back to? And for me, I don't think I would want to go past like 12. And I feel like you still need a top tier guy. You do need a top tier guy. And whether that's a quarterback, whether it's something else, you've got to stay kind of in that upper echelon. So for me, if there is a trade offer and it involves anything this year with a first round next year, that's kind of my limit. I'm not trading without a first round next year because that does give you draft capital to do something in next year's draft and possibly move up if needed. But again, we didn't get a lot of hits on the free agents this year as far as quarterbacks. I mean, we didn't get a ton of free agents at all this year. I feel like it was kind of a down year. I don't know if they're trying to save the cap space, but I think you need the draft capital. I think these guys are a little bit of a long shot, but I also agree with Max. I think right now it's Cam Ward or bust for this front office.
I will say this real quick. Dang it, I can't help it, man. When you throw out stuff like pick the quarterback from freaking Ohio State out there, Scoob, you're not leaving me much, bro. But I'll jump off a bridge if we try. Milrow, that's great. No, but look,
hey, crazier things have happened. Crazier things have happened.
I don't like my Bama boys, man.
Hey man, they're rough out there, man. They're you know, it's like jumping into a pool.
I'm just a Bama fan. I gotta throw love, fair. Man.
That's fair.
I will say this: I got into a really interesting conversation with one of my best friends who is a Patriots fan, and that trade really got me intrigued and got my mind thinking. With Milton, their first round pick, their second round pick, and their maybe even the third round pick this year, the first round pick next year, however you want to package the deal. If they were to give us Milton, which gives us a viable option at starting quarterback, and then some other stuff to go along with it, some draft capital and stuff, I would not be 100% against that. I don't really like Milton, but I'm just saying.
No, don't give me Milton either. I was totally joking. I mean, I'm just trying to show love to balls. Don't give me Milton. Milton broke my heart enough in orange. I don't need him to break my heart in blue. Look, great. God, again, kind of the same, but okay, kind of the same thing with Milrow, but on a different level. Super strong arm. He can bomb the thing 80 yards downfield with a flick of the wrist. But how accurate is he? And I know everybody points to the last game of the season, 16-17. I mean, he just had probably the best career game he's had, college included. So I get it. And then with the Hendon Hooker thing, I love Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker has brought so much happiness to this house, but this is a guy who lost his backup job. So I'm not high on either one of them. But again, I think anything's a better option than Levis at this point. So if that's the route we're going, I think I would still rather have one of those guys than I would Shedeur or Ward. At least they have a year under their belt in an NFL system. And if that ultimately gets you to where you're going in the long run, okay, we'll figure it out.
I will say this. It doesn't matter which one of us is right. There's going to be a fair amount of Titans fans that are pissed off.
Oh, there always is.
There always
is. Always. Look at the Latham pick.
Know.
Look at the Latham pick.
We get kind of high on stuff sometimes. Like when we drafted Mariota, everybody in the franchise was saying that was the premier move, which it did work out pretty decent for us. But and when you look at the draft capital and the trade back and all that, I mean, yeah, it was pretty fruitful for us. But did it, I mean, I don't know. All I'm saying is we got to move on, man. We got to move on.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, even going back to that draft, I was hoping they'd take Hendon Hooker coming off an ACL before they took Levis. So that definitely set things ablaze. But even if you look at this year, like I was outraged at the J.C. Latham pick. I was absolutely outraged. How are we going for this guy? I mean, you lost all your picks to the other guys. You weren't able to move up and get the guy you wanted. I mean, I was on fire. We didn't take Malik Neighbors, and he's on the board. We didn't even look at Xavier Worthy. We didn't. And granted, all those guys have turned out really good, but it turns out Latham's exactly what you needed. So, whether that was Brinker, whether that was Carthon, whoever was making those decisions, because I get three different stories from three different sides. it all usually kind of sort of works out in the end, even if it just gets you to your next step and where you're going. So I'm saying right now that no matter what they do, I'm not going to be outraged. I will not swear on that. I will not act like I'm holding that true, because come draft night, I'm probably going to be blowing up the same way I was last year.
Yeah, and we might do a live stream for the draft. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I might be going to the draft party at the stadium. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I do have my tickets, though, just in case.
There you go.
So, any final thoughts, Justa Titans fan?
I'm good. Everything sounds good, you know.
All right, man. Well, we really enjoyed having you on the show. Guys, if you don't follow Justa Titans Fan, you're on Facebook. Get in there, check him out, man. Really good stuff coming from a good young man. So, yeah, good show, guys.
Thank y'all for having me. You know, it's great to be here. Great to finally meet you guys. I've watched the podcast a few times, you know, but it's finally great to be able to meet you guys personally. You know, hopefully we can do this again. You know,
absolutely, man. Sounds like a good idea. Link?
Yeah, no, I'm good. You know, like he was saying, just stick with us. Any breaking news, anything that comes out, we're going to try to keep you guys updated. Leading all the way up to draft time, we'll definitely do something for the draft, whether it's a draft show, whether it's a draft recap, draft pre-cap, whatever we do, we're going to be in your guys' ears. So make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for all the comments, and just stay tuned with us. We got big things to come.
That's right. And until next time, tighten up.
Tighten up, guys.